If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The pain ripped through my abdomen, a searing agony that felt like a white-hot blade twisting inside me. At 63, I'd weathered a few health scares, but this felt like the end. Stumbling, I fumbled for my phone, fingers clumsy with fear, and managed to dial 911. "Emergency services," a voice crackled through the line. "What's your emergency?" The words seemed distant, swallowed by the rising tide of blackness creeping into my vision. I think my appendix burst," I gasped, each breath a painful struggle. "I can't stand." Miraculously, the paramedics arrived in what felt like seconds. As they strapped me onto the stretcher, I clung to my phone, desperate. "My son," I mumbled. "Need to call my son." Timothy had been my anchor, my rock, ever since Robert passed away 5 years prior. He and his wife, Jessica, lived a mere 20 minutes away in the comfortable suburban home I'd helped them secure. A generous down payment, courtesy of nearly half of Robert's life insurance money. "Timothy?" I whispered as the call connected, the sirens wailing a discordant symphony in the background. "I'm being taken to Memorial Hospital. Emergency surgery, they think." The pain was a relentless tide, making coherent sentences an impossible feat. "Mom, what? I can barely hear you." His voice sounded strained, preoccupied. I could hear the faint clinking of glasses in the background. "We're at the Petersons' dinner party. Can this wait until morning?" Before I could even sputter a response, another wave of excruciating pain crashed over me, and I cried out, the phone slipping from my grasp. The last thing I remember was the paramedic's urgent voice, something about sepsis and how close I was to crossing the brink. I drifted back into awareness 3 days later, a haze of medication clinging to my thoughts. The surgeon, a kind-faced woman with tired eyes, informed me I'd been incredibly fortunate. Another hour, and the infection might have been fatal. Through the lingering fog, I reached for my phone. No messages, no missed calls. "Did my son visit?" I croaked, addressing the nurse. "Timothy Blake?" She meticulously checked my chart, then shook her head with gentle pity. "No visitors recorded, dear. We can certainly call him if you'd like." Over the next 4 days, I dialed Timothy's number 17 times. Each call met the cold indifference of voicemail. I left messages, initially filled with worry, then bewilderment, and finally a simmering anger. Jessica's phone just rang and rang, an unanswered echo in the silent room. "They're probably just busy," I told myself, clinging to the flimsy thread of hope, but the knot in my stomach had nothing to do with the surgical incision. On my 7th day in the sterile confines of the hospital, Dr. Kaplan signed my discharge papers. "You'll need help at home for at least a week," she cautioned. "No lifting, limited movement, someone to change your dressings." "My son will help," I lied, forcing a reassuring smile that felt brittle and false. I hailed a taxi, the ride home filled with a growing sense of unease. As we turned onto Maple Street, something felt fundamentally wrong, disturbingly different about my house, the modest ranch where I'd lived for 3 decades, where I'd raised Timothy, where I'd built a life, a home, with Robert. Then I saw it, a sold sign, thrust defiantly into my front yard, glinting mockingly in the afternoon sun. The taxi driver, a burly man with a kind face, noticed my shock. "You okay, ma'am?" I couldn't manage a coherent answer, my gaze fixated on the stacks of cardboard boxes that lined my porch, my possessions, my memories, my life meticulously packed away like unwanted baggage. But I wasn't moving. At least I hadn't been informed of any such plans. With trembling hands, I paid the driver and slowly, carefully, made my way to the porch, each step sending a jolt of pain through my healing abdomen. Taped to the top box was a stark white envelope, the word "Mom" scrawled across it in Timothy's familiar handwriting. The note inside was brutally brief. "Mom, we sold the house. New owners take possession next week. These are your personal items. Jessica packed what she thought you'd want. The rest is being donated. We found you an assisted living facility. Handle the details yourself. You always wanted independence, Timothy." The world seemed to tilt on its axis, the ground swaying beneath my feet. I grabbed the porch railing for support, the surgical pain now insignificant compared to the agonizing wound tearing through my heart. My son had sold my home while I was fighting for my life. Inside, the house was already half empty, a hollow shell of its former self. The living room furniture was gone, vanished. So was the dining set Robert had lovingly refinished for our 20th anniversary, a symbol of our enduring love, now just another discarded item. My bedroom was stripped bare, except for my old mattress lying forlornly on the floor. In the otherwise empty kitchen, I found Jessica's expensive designer coffee mug in the sink, a remnant of her last visit. Next to it was a business card for Golden Sunset Assisted Living, the monthly cost exceeding my entire Social Security check. My hands shook uncontrollably as I dialed Timothy's number. This time, he answered on the second ring, as if he'd been expecting my call. "Mom, you're out of the hospital." "Timothy Blake, what have you done?" My voice was barely a whisper, strangled with disbelief and betrayal. "What needed to be done?" he replied, his tone maddeningly calm, devoid of any remorse. "Dad's been gone 5 years. That house is too much for you. You fell, Mom. You could have died alone in that kitchen. So you sold my house without my knowledge while I was in surgery?" "It's our house too," Timothy said, his voice hardening. "Dad left it to both of us." That wasn't the truth. Robert had explicitly left the house to me, but I'd added Timothy's name to the deed years ago, a well-intentioned attempt to avoid potential probate issues when I eventually passed away, a decision I now bitterly regretted. "Where am I supposed to go?" I demanded, the panic rising. "That assisted living place costs $3,800 a month. I can't afford that." "We'll help with the difference," Jessica chimed in, her voice tight, clearly listening in on another phone. "Besides, Mom, you have that annuity from Dad's insurance and we've been paying your property taxes for years." Another blatant lie. I'd meticulously paid every bill myself, and I'd even helped them with their mortgage when Timothy was between jobs, but arguing felt utterly pointless, like trying to reason with a brick wall. "I need to rest," I said finally, my voice trembling with exhaustion. "I just had major surgery." "Of course," Timothy replied, his tone softening slightly, but the empathy rang hollow. "The facility expects you Monday. I'll text you the address." I hung up without even bothering to say goodbye, and did something I hadn't allowed myself to do since Robert's funeral. I sank to the cold, bare floor and sobbed uncontrollably, the pain radiating from my incision, a physical manifestation of the agony tearing through my soul. When the tears finally subsided, something else took their place. A cold, clear, unshakable determination. I might be 63 years old, recently recovered from major surgery and apparently homeless, but I was still Martha Blake, and Martha Blake wasn't going to surrender without a fight. I spent that long, desolate night on my mattress on the floor, the pain medication causing me to drift in and out of a fitful, dream-plagued sleep as I began to formulate a plan, a strategy for survival. By morning, that fragile determination had hardened into a steely resolve. First, I called my oldest friend, Eleanor, who lived an hour away in Westfield. After hearing my story, punctuated by a string of colorful expletives I hadn't uttered since my days as a schoolteacher, she didn't hesitate for a moment. "Pack whatever you can fit in a suitcase, Martha. You're staying with me until we figure this mess out." Next, I called Walter Montgomery, my trusted financial advisor for the past decade. Walter had skillfully helped me invest the other half of Robert's life insurance money, the portion Timothy knew nothing about. "Mrs. Blake," Walter said, his voice grave after I recounted my harrowing situation. "We need to meet in person as soon as possible. How about tomorrow morning?" By the afternoon, Eleanor had arrived in her trusty Volvo, her face flushed with righteous indignation. "I absolutely cannot believe Timothy would do something so cruel, so heartless," she fumed, gently helping me into her car. "After absolutely everything you've done for that boy, every sacrifice you've made." I winced, both from the physical discomfort and the sharp sting of emotional pain. "People change, Ellie. Apparently my son is not the man I believed I raised." Eleanor insisted I take her guest bedroom, fussing over me like a mother hen. She meticulously changed my dressings, administered my medication, and offered silent comfort when she found me crying at 3 a.m, my heart aching with an unbearable emptiness. The next morning, Walter met us at a quiet, unassuming coffee shop. He was a man in his 70s, with kind eyes that had witnessed firsthand far too many elderly clients being exploited and taken advantage of by their own families. "Martha," he said gently, setting a thick folder on the table, "I've carefully reviewed your finances. The investment portfolio we established with Robert's insurance money has performed exceptionally well. Combined with the annuity and your Social Security, you have options, viable choices." He slid a financial statement across the table. I stared at the figures in disbelief, then looked up at Walter in shock. This can't be right." Walter smiled reassuringly. "It's entirely accurate. Robert was remarkably astute about those technology stocks, and you were exceptionally wise to consistently reinvest the dividends. You're not wealthy by New York standards, but you're certainly comfortable enough to have genuine choices." For the first time since seeing that devastating sold sign, I felt a fragile flicker of hope ignite within me. "What about the house?" I asked, the anxiety returning. Walter's expression darkened. "That's a more complex situation. Since Timothy's name is on the deed, he technically had the legal right to sell. But," he added quickly, seeing my face fall, "there might be potential legal questions surrounding selling the property without your explicit consent, particularly given the fact that you were incapacitated at the time. I've already contacted a colleague at Wilson and Prattley. They specialize in elder law and are extremely reputable." Elder law! The phrase made me wince. I was only 63, hardly ancient, though in that moment I felt 100 years old, weighed down by a lifetime of love and loss. "What do you recommend?" Eleanor asked, her voice sharp with protective concern. Walter closed the folder, his expression serious. "First, we need to secure your finances to protect them from any potential interference. Move your investments into accounts solely under your control, accessible only by you. Second, obtain sound legal advice regarding the legality of the house sale. And third," he paused, meeting my gaze directly, "decide what kind of relationship, if any, you want to have with your son moving forward." That last question haunted me as Eleanor drove us back to Westfield. What kind of relationship did I even want with a son who would sell my home while I was undergoing emergency surgery? Who would pack my entire life into cardboard boxes and unceremoniously dump them on the porch with a callous note that simply said, "Handle it"? My phone buzzed insistently with a text message from Timothy. "Facility address? 1782 Pinewood Lane, Monday, 9:12 a.m. We've already paid the first month's deposit." I showed the message to Eleanor, my hand shaking uncontrollably with a mixture of rage and despair. "What are you going to do?" she asked quietly, her eyes filled with concern. I closed my eyes, hearing Robert's voice echoing in my memory. "Never make big decisions when you're angry, Martha. Sleep on it. The right answer will always come to you." "I'm going to rest," I said finally. "And then I'm going to make some very important calls." By Sunday night, I had arrived at my answer. Monday morning arrived, but I didn't show up at Golden Sunset Assisted Living. Instead, I sat in the elegant, wood-paneled office of Patricia Wilson, the renowned elder law attorney, signing documents that would irrevocably alter the course of my life. "Are you absolutely certain about this, Mrs. Blake?" Patricia Wilson asked, her gaze sharp and discerning behind her rimless glasses. "Completely certain," I replied, signing the last document with a decisive flourish. It had been 3 long, arduous weeks since my discharge from the hospital. My surgical incision was slowly healing, and the suffocating fog of betrayal had begun to lift, allowing me to think clearly, strategically. With Patricia's invaluable assistance, I'd formally filed a legal complaint contesting the legitimacy of the house sale, though we both acknowledged that it might be an uphill battle, given Timothy's name being on the property deed. More importantly, I'd completely restructured my financial affairs. New accounts were opened, old ones discreetly closed. My investments were carefully moved into a robust living trust, fortified with ironclad provisions. My will was painstakingly updated, removing Timothy as both the executor and the primary beneficiary. "The legal paperwork to officially contest the house sale has been filed," Patricia said, meticulously organizing the documents. "But these types of cases can take a considerable amount of time, and given the joint ownership, we may ultimately need to settle for financial compensation rather than actually recovering the property itself." I nodded, feeling a wave of profound loss wash over me as I thought about my home, the vibrant garden where Robert and I had spent countless idyllic Sunday afternoons, the cozy kitchen where I had taught Timothy to bake his first batch of cookies, the warm, inviting living room where we joyously celebrated 30 memorable Christmas mornings. "I understand," I said softly. "At this stage, I'm far more concerned with securing my future, with protecting myself, than with waging a protracted battle over the past." Patricia smiled, a flicker of understanding in her eyes. "A very healthy attitude to have. Now, regarding your living situation, have you made any firm decisions?" After careful and thoughtful consideration and multiple in-depth conversations with Walter, I'd arrived at a surprising and somewhat unexpected decision. "I'm moving to Florida," I announced, my voice filled with newfound resolve. "Eleanor has a cousin in Naples who has a small guest house available for rent. It's affordable, conveniently close to the beach." And I smiled ruefully. "And very, very far away from Connecticut." "And your son?" The weighty question hung in the air between us, unspoken but undeniably present. Timothy had called 17 times in the past week, precisely the same number of times I had desperately called him from the hospital. I hadn't answered a single call. Jessica had sent increasingly frantic text messages regarding the assisted living facility, threatening to sue them for breach of contract. Those messages, too, had gone completely unanswered. "My son made his choice," I said, surprised by how calm and steady my voice sounded. "He chose to treat me as a burden, an inconvenience to be managed rather than a person to be respected, a mother to be cherished. Now I am making my choice." Patricia nodded slowly, genuine understanding reflected in her eyes. "Complete separation, then? At least for the time being? Perhaps even permanently?" "Perhaps forever," I echoed, shrugging, unable to commit to a time frame I couldn't possibly predict. "I haven't yet decided." As I left the law office, the immense weight of that decision pressed heavily upon me. I had carried Timothy inside me for 9 long months. I had nursed him through countless bouts of chickenpox and childhood heartbreaks, celebrated his triumphs, and consoled him through his failures. I had been his mother, his father, and his closest friend after Robert had passed away. And now, I was deliberately walking away. Was it the right thing to do? I honestly couldn't be entirely sure, but it was unequivocally the only decision that would allow me to preserve my dignity and retain my self-respect. Eleanor was patiently waiting for me in the car, a bakery bag filled with treats on the seat beside her. "How did everything go?" "It's done," I said simply, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. "All of it." She handed me a warm cinnamon roll, its sweet aroma filling the car. "Martha Blake, you are without a doubt the strongest person I know." I laughed softly, though the sound was tinged with a hint of bitterness. "I certainly don't feel strong, Ellie. I feel utterly broken." "Broken things can always be mended," she replied, gently squeezing my hand. "And sometimes they actually end up being even stronger at the places where they were broken." 2 days later, I boarded a plane to Florida, carrying with me only 2 suitcases and a small canvas bag containing the few photo albums I had managed to salvage from the boxes on the porch. As the plane soared into the sky, I felt a complex mix of emotions: grief, sadness, and a surprising sense of liberation. I was leaving behind a lifetime of memories, both the good and the bad, but I was also shedding the crushing weight of expectations that had slowly suffocated me over the years. Timothy tried to call me one final time just before boarding. I deliberately sent the call straight to voicemail, then listened to the message as we reached cruising altitude. "Mom, this is absolutely ridiculous. Where are you? The assisted living place is threatening to sue us for breach of contract. Please call me so we can sort this out like rational adults." Like adults? The irony of the phrase was almost unbearable. I swiftly deleted the message, turned off my phone, and closed my eyes. For the first time in weeks, I drifted off to sleep without being haunted by vivid dreams of empty houses and forgotten cardboard boxes. Naples, Florida, welcomed me with open arms, embracing me with its warm sunshine and balmy air. Eleanor's cousin, Marge, turned out to be a spirited 70-year-old widow with a passion for potent margaritas and an abundance of strong opinions. "Martha, you look like you're in desperate need of some vitamin D and a seriously stiff drink," she announced with a hearty laugh when I arrived. "The guest house is all ready for you, but first, it's happy hour on the lanai." The guest house was a charming converted garage, complete with a fully functional kitchenette, a small but well-appointed bathroom, and a cozy covered patio that overlooked Marge's lush, vibrant garden. At only $800 a month, including all utilities, it was an absolute steal and infinitely more appealing than the sterile, depressing facility Timothy had so conveniently selected for me. "It's absolutely perfect," I told Marge, setting down my suitcases and feeling a sense of peace settle over me for the first time in weeks. "It's small," she corrected with a wink, "but it'll certainly do until you figure out your next move. Now, come and have that drink before all the ice melts." Over the next 2 months, I gradually settled into a soothing, healing routine. My mornings began with a cup of coffee on my patio, watching the lizards dart playfully across the garden wall. 3 times a week, I joined Marge for water aerobics at the local community pool. Gentle exercise that gradually strengthened my core without putting any unnecessary strain on my still tender abdomen. In the afternoons, I explored my new surroundings, the local museums, the charming historic downtown area, and the beautiful public beach with its spectacular sunsets. Sometimes Marge accompanied me on these excursions. Other times, I ventured out alone, relishing the welcome anonymity of being just another silver-haired lady in a place brimming with retirees. I made friends slowly but steadily. Marge's book club enthusiastically welcomed me. The friendly barista at the coffee shop quickly learned my usual order. The librarian diligently set aside mystery novels she thought I might enjoy. Throughout it all, I maintained a deliberate, unwavering silence with Timothy. He continued to call frequently during the first month, each voicemail message more frustrated and accusatory than the last. Then, the calls gradually tapered off, replaced by occasional text messages, ranging from angry and accusatory, "Real mature, Mom, completely ignoring your only child," to guilt-tripping and manipulative, "Jessica and I are both extremely worried about you," to coldly practical, "House sale has been finalized. Your share of the proceeds is being held in escrow." I carefully saved all the messages, but I never once responded. Patricia diligently kept me updated on the legal situation. Our formal complaint remained complicated by the joint ownership of the property. The best possible outcome we could realistically hope for was a fair distribution of the proceeds from the sale, which Timothy was apparently still holding in escrow. My new life in Florida was slowly taking shape, but the deep wound of Timothy's betrayal remained raw and painful. On some nights, I would still wake up in tears, instinctively reaching for my phone before remembering why I simply couldn't call him, not anymore. On those nights, I would brew a cup of herbal tea and sit outside on my patio, gazing up at the stars and wondering how the child I had raised with such unwavering love and devotion had somehow become such a complete and utter stranger. 4 months after arriving in Naples, I received an unexpected email from Barbara Chen, a producer at a popular national morning show. She was working on a compelling series about financial independence for women over the age of 60 and had been given my name by Patricia. "Your remarkable story of reclaiming your personal autonomy after your son's actions is precisely the kind of empowering narrative we are seeking," Barbara wrote. "Would you be willing to discuss your experiences on camera? We would, of course, respect any and all privacy boundaries you wish to establish." My first instinct was to politely decline. I had never actively sought the spotlight, and the mere thought of discussing my deeply personal family troubles on national television made my stomach clench with anxiety. But something about the phrase, "empowering narrative," resonated within me. Was that truly what I was doing? Empowering myself? It certainly hadn't felt that way back in the sterile hospital room or when I had first seen those boxes, my life packed away on the porch. It had simply felt like surviving, like desperately scrambling to stay afloat when the ground had abruptly disappeared beneath my feet. But looking back at my decisions, refusing to be placed in the assisted living facility, meticulously restructuring my finances, making the bold move to Florida, I could now see a consistent thread of agency running through them. I hadn't simply reacted to the devastating events. I had actively responded by consciously reclaiming control over my own life. After carefully sleeping on it, I wrote back to Barbara, agreeing to an initial phone call. The interview taping was set for Tuesday. The gulf lay flat as glass, a liar's mirror. Barbara's assistant texted the driver's ETA. My hands shook. Then an unknown number rang. "Decline," I muttered, but the voicemail transcribed anyway. "Mom, do not go on TV. You'll ruin everything. We can fix this, together." It was Timothy's voice, frantic, not contrite. Seconds later, an email arrived from a burner account. "Cancel or the hospital finds out you forged consent forms." Attached was a scan of my signature, perfect and poisonous. I forwarded it to Patricia and Barbara, squared my shoulders, opened door. And that, my friends, is where Martha's journey takes a truly unexpected turn. From heartbreak and betrayal, she's finding her voice and her power, reminding us that it's never too late to reclaim your life and stand up for yourself, no matter what curveballs life throws your way. This is a story about resilience, about choosing yourself, and about finding strength in the face of unimaginable adversity. But trust me, the drama doesn't end here. In part 2, we'll see just how Martha deals with these shocking new threats and what the future holds for her new life in Naples. So, what are your thoughts? What would you do in Martha's situation? Have you ever had to make a tough decision that went against the grain? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories and insights. And if you want to see how Martha navigates this next chapter, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss part 2. We'll be diving into all the twists and turns, and you definitely won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.